Till Saturday or Sunday. The latest shedding, which has changed now from stage 2 to 4, has now also been blamed in somewhat to the cyclone that hit Mozambique at the weekend. For more on SA's energy crisis and South Africa's confidence in the energy sector to be able to restore itself, we are now joined by mining and energy advisor Mr. Ted Blom. Very good evening to you, sir. We thank you very much for your time. Essentially, government has met over the course of the year maybe 3 or 4 times already. They've come out blatantly saying that they are aggressively working towards it, yet we see no end.
Absolutely, and they've also appointed the panels and panels of experts, and they have a weekly cabinet meeting now as well on Eskom. So this is a real serious cause for concern, more so over the weekend, because South Africa's after-hours consumption of electricity falls quite dramatically to about 22 gigawatts. So if Eskom is 4 gigawatts short of the 22 gigawatts that's required after hours, means that more than 50% of Eskom's capacity to generate power is offline. And that's like running your car engine on half the number of cylinders. It's not acceptable. It's actually reckless to run an economy like that, and it's not sustainable for you and me and everybody else in this part of the world.
Would you describe that we're possibly on the brink of a crisis? We also heard the President in Parliament about a month ago saying that they were actively working on the problem. They would be coming up with solutions, but we're not really seeing any solutions materialize or anything concrete actually coming through.
Well, that's the problem with this government. It's been very long on talk and very short on walk. They've promised us a turnaround plan last year, September. They then said it was going to be delivered in December. In December, they came with all sorts of other panels. The fact of the matter is that Eskom is out of control. It's in meltdown mode. I'm forecasting that by the end of this month, Eskom will be breaching its covenants, debt covenants, and it will be forced into business rescue. This government doesn't want to put it into business rescue, but that's the only rational thing to do under the circumstances. In the meantime, they're holding you and me and everybody in this economy to ransom. We're losing jobs left, right, and center, and the tariffs are going through the roof, and heavens knows where all that money is going to, because it's not seemingly being used to fix Eskom.
In terms of actual supplier or energy supplier, are we possibly going to see a scenario in South Africa where we could be at a blackout on our grids?
That's absolutely possible. We already got rotational blackouts, or load shedding is the nice acronym that Eskom has given it. The fact of the matter is it's selected blackouts of areas, and if we talk about a total meltdown, all you need is one accident by the operator. Maybe going to the bathroom, as it happened earlier on this week with Eskom's generators going down, or something like that, or maybe a malfunction in a switch, and you could have dire consequences. Yeah,
speaking of accidents and malfunctions, we're now also seeing the knock-on effects from what's been happening at the cyclone with regards to Mozambique and how that's affecting our supply here. Take us through that.
Okay, so we get, on a normal day, we should be getting roughly 2 gigawatts from the Cabora Bassa scheme, the hydro scheme up in northern part of Mozambique. It's a long way away, and the lines are DC. They come right through the rural parts of Mozambique, which at times in the past have been vulnerable to terrorist activity. There is now currently, as everybody seems to be aware, a major storm brewing just off the coast of northern part of Mozambique, off Beira, and seemingly Eskom has lost 900 megawatts out of one of the 2 lines that normally brings power down from that part of the world. And I guess if the storm is still raging on, the other line, which brings the other half of that power, is also vulnerable and susceptible to damage. So we're in a very vulnerable situation, and we shouldn't be here, because we have 50% of the generating capacity not being fixed. That's the big problem. You can't run around like that.
With regards to that, what sort of contingency plans should have then been put in place for something like this to have happened?
Well, the new board has been in place now for more than a year. And frankly, Eskom is now in a worse situation than it was when this board took over from the previous corrupt board. So as far as I can see, this board is, and I've said it before, and I'm not the only one, the unions have now joined me in this chorus, is this board is ineffective. They haven't got the experience. They're conflicted, which we heard from the Zondo Commission. The chairman is grossly conflicted in terms of his responsibilities at Eskom. And suddenly, all that happens is the minister takes over and acts as the board whenever it suits him at public forums. The fact of the matter is the situation needs to be addressed. and needs to be addressed in terms of proper governance, which everybody thought was promised by the new president coming in after the Zuma administration. This president said it's a new dawn, proper governance is going to be executed. In fact, all that's happened is we've seen a change in face. The poor governance, the poor incompetence, the poor availability of plant, it's all just got worse.
For the ordinary South African, where essentially does that leave us, apart from being held at ransom?
Okay, so I mean, we've just had the new price increases, which I think are ill-founded and defective. And in fact, NERSA told me at the hearings that this price application was defective. And what I think is South Africans need to get together and bandy the High Court to declare this defective and have the price increases taken away, because we cannot be paying more for more unreliable electricity or for less electricity availability. I mean, most of the people, you don't realize it, but you're paying more than half of your Eskom charges are for line availability or line capacity, and the stuff is not available. So what are we paying for? So I think people that are concerned should contact me, and we can bandy together a group of people and some money and take this into the High Court. Unfortunately, under the regulations, the only way to have this set aside is through the very expensive legal process through the High Court. But certainly I think I've had enough, and I think many people in the industry have enough, and if they're angry enough, they must contact me and we'll make a plan.
Essentially, we were speaking off air and you were saying, you know, this could possibly be going on for the next 5 years or so.
I've said so publicly. I think I'm the only one who's been brave enough or foolish enough to say publicly that until Eskom sorts out its coal procurement plan under long-term agreements, from that day that they signed the first long-term agreements, it will take another 5 years to remedy the rolling blackouts and intermittent blackouts as we've been experiencing here. And we're experiencing these notwithstanding the categorical undertakings by government, the minister and the state president that this rolling blackout would be ended immediately. They even cancelled people's leave and all such other foolish things. I mean, I've never heard a bunch of amateurs running a show as I've seen with Eskom.
Now, essentially, just as we bring it to a wrap, we've been asking our viewers today, of course, with the escalation of load shedding in the country, can one still believe in the power utilities' ability to power supply? What is your view on that?
Well, I've said before, I forecast this 5 years ago. The financial meltdown I forecast 5 years ago. The operational meltdown I forecast more than 10 years ago in terms of the coal shortages and so on. So this is no surprise to me. And this is just the final leg of the meltdown. As far as believing that Eskom can supply our future, no, I don't think. I think those days are over. The incompetence and the inability to deliver power is evident for everybody to see. We're in the middle of a weekend with the lowest demand in the whole demand profile of electricity, and Eskom can't even supply that. They're 4 gigawatts short. It's ridiculous. It makes us a banana republic.
Are we seeing the final meltdown? We'll just have to wait and see. Thank you very much for joining us in studio. That was Mining and Energy Advisor Ted Blom, just taking us through the current situation with regards to power supply in and around South Africa, being moved from stage 2 to currently stage 4 load shedding.